Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about hidden data tips that every analyst should use. So this is the first of a series where we're going to be going over all sorts of little tricks, hacks, shortcuts, things that can really help you become more effective as a data analyst. And some of these things are going to be super simple, others are going to be a little bit advanced. But at the end of the day, hopefully there'll be something in here for everyone. Now I'm going to try my best to go through these as quickly as possible so that we can get to learning the tips and tricks right away. But if you find a tip that you particularly enjoy, let me know down below. Give it a thumbs up. Let me know why you like it. If you have any other tips that you think I missed, also leave them down below in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Maybe I'll even do a follow-up video with some of your tips. And last but not least, if you are interested in learning more about data analytics, check out the links down below in the description. You're going to want to do that because you can get started completely free and work your way up to earning a certificate. All right, let's get into tip number 1. This one is going to be a quick one. So tip number 1, use conditional formatting to spot trends. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, take a look at this example. We have what appears to be random numbers across the rows and columns here. And what we want to do is identify any trends that may exist. In this case, we're just going to use a simple rule where we highlight the top 10. So if we go to Home, then we go to Conditional Formatting, we go to Highlight Cell Rules, and we choose Top Bottom. Then we can go ahead and select Top 10. We'll say Top 10 and we'll click OK. And now we see that the largest values have been highlighted in red. Now here's the thing. What if I took this one step further? Say we wanted to identify negative trends. Well, in that case, we can just go back to our conditional formatting. We can remove top 10 and instead we're going to do bottom 10. Click OK, and now we see the lowest 10% have been highlighted in blue. Now you could do similar things with average. You could do things based on whether it's greater than or less than a certain value. There's all sorts of different ways that you can use conditional formatting to highlight cells that meet certain criteria, and this can be an extremely powerful way to quickly identify trends within your data set. All right, moving on to tip number 2. This one is pretty advanced. So tip number 2, filter your slices. Now, you may have heard of this one before, but not many people know how to use it, and this one can be super useful. Take a look at this example. We have a slicer up here, and when we click on it, we see that we have sales data broken down by region and product. Now, let's say we only want to see the coffee sales data for the West region. Well, in that case, we can go ahead and multi-click on the slicer, and we can see that we've selected coffee and the West. But what if we wanted to do both of those things simultaneously? Well, here's how we do that. We go to the very beginning of the slicer and we hold down Control and we select the end. And now we have what's called a filter slicer, and we can add additional filters. So we can hold down Control again and we can select anything else that we want. For instance, maybe we want to filter for January. We click on that, and now we have filtered our slicer such that we are only seeing coffee sales for the West region in January. This can be an extremely powerful way to quickly filter your data without having to go into the underlying dataset. Tip number 3, use parameters to pass arguments to your charts. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let me show you an example. Here we have what appears to be some random line chart. We don't really know what's going on here, but if we go to the top left-hand corner, we see that we have a parameter called product, and when we click into that, we see that we have different products selected. So let's say that we only wanted to see the chairs data. Well, here's how we would do that. We go to our product parameter and we remove everything except for chairs, and now we see that we've filtered our chart such that it's only showing the chairs data. Now here's the cool part. What if we didn't want to do that manually? Well, here's how we would do that automatically. We go to our sheet here and we go to Insert and we choose a Form Control. Then we choose a drop-down list and we put that right next to our chart. And now we can go ahead and select all of the different products. But here's the cool part. When we click on a particular product, we see that our chart updates dynamically. Now here's the thing. The reason why this is super valuable is because now we can link this to something else. For instance, maybe we have a dashboard where we want to pull in this chart, but we want to select a different parameter. In that case, we can just copy this chart and we can paste it into our dashboard. And now, when we update the parameter over here, the chart updates automatically. All right, moving on to tip number 4. This one is going to be pretty advanced. Tip number 4, use table calculations to summarize data. Now, you may have heard of this one before, but not too many people know how to use it, and this one can be extremely useful. Take a look at this example. We have what looks like a simple data set. We have orders, quantity, and total revenue, and we want to calculate the average quantity per order. Well, here's how we do that. We go to Data, and then we choose Measures, and we type in the name of the measure, which we'll call average quantity. And then we type in the formula, which in this case would be the sum of quantity divided by the count of orders. Now here's the interesting part. When we click on the measure, we see that it's calculated the average quantity per order. But here's the cool part. It's dynamic. If we add new data, the measure will automatically update. Now this can be especially useful if you have large data sets, or if you want to be able to quickly change your data and see how the results change. Tip number 5, use the forecast function to make predictions. All right, this one is going to be pretty quick. So tip number 5 is to use the forecast function to make predictions. Here we have a table with dates and sales data, and we want to forecast future sales. So we go to the Insert tab, and we click on Forecast Sheet, and we select the dates and sales columns. Now here's the thing. We don't actually need to select a range. We can actually just select the column header, and that will work just fine. So we click on that, and we click on Create, and now we see a line chart with a forecast. Now this can be extremely useful if you're trying to predict future outcomes. Of course, the accuracy of your forecast will depend on the quality of your data, but nonetheless, it's still a super useful tool to have in your belt. All right, that's it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed these 5 hidden data tips. If you did, make sure to let me know down below in the comments. And if you want to learn more about data analytics, check out the links down below in the description. Thanks for watching.